Good evening, everyone. In our country, we have very easy access to meats, whether it be from your local grocery store, fast food joint. You might get a burger and some chicken nuggets. But have you ever stopped and wondered where that food actually comes from? Is it really natural? Is it really grass-fed, like they say? I know we've all heard stories about this, but in my speech, I will tell you just how misleading the meat industry is by going over the farming, the labeling, and the GAP certification, as well as a solution for the clarity of it all. The first topic I'm going to be talking about is farming. In the United States, at one time, there's over 500 million chickens that are ready to be killed and butchered for their meat. Over 90% of this meat comes from 4 different major chicken corporations. These companies run massive farms, which are always kept secret from the public, so that kind of keeps the public from knowing where their food is actually coming from, because a lot of people wouldn't buy the food if they knew the truth about it. So the common chicken you buy at the store comes from a chicken coop a lot like this. These chickens are injected with hormones, so they would unnaturally grow bigger than what they are and grow faster. They are then stuffed inside of these chicken coops filled with thousands of chickens, as you can see, with barely any room to walk. Some chickens die, they never get taken out, they just rot in there, spreading bacteria. There's just not very good safety conditions for the animals themselves. If you're seeing this for the first time, you might wonder why the FDA doesn't have regulations against this. Well, the FDA does have regulations, but their regulations protect the consumers. So if the food is safe to eat for the consumer, then the FDA doesn't have anything to do with it. Buying organic, grass-fed food is an option from the consumer. According to a study by PETA, over 79% of Americans do not have a single clue where their food comes from. So my second point I'm going to be discussing is labeling. You may see packaging at the store that claims the product is organic, all natural, cage-free. Well, in a study by Consumer Reports, they report 73% of consumers are misled by these special labels found on foods. As people strive to put the best meals on the table for the natural or organic foods compared to a normal package, the labels are what they look at to find the best meats to put on the table for their family. In an interview with the Washington Post, Dr. Agwin said, "Rely on the information included on product labels to better understand how the animal is raised. Process and package. Unfortunately, most labels are deceiving, displaying terms that are unclear, loosely defined, or essentially meaningless. Though consumers want information about their food, transparency is not a natural ingredient for many brands." And these other brands that say organic, cage-fed, these types of chicken with that label are normally priced more. For example, when you see a label on meat that says cage-free, which we can see here, or 100% all natural, the consumer would assume that, as you see in this picture, they would look at that and assume a free-range chicken would be a chicken that's running around on the farm. They have all this grass, and just like a natural chicken would be raised. Well, the reality is what's here on the bottom. So, according to the USDA, a free-range chicken must have access to an outdoor area at all times. So, this is really misleading because these chicken coops, as you see on the bottom, how it really is, they're packed, they're crammed, and the only thing different from what you see in the first slide here is there's a little door at the end of it that's open for the chickens to get out, but barely any of them ever do get out due to overpopulation of the coops and the chickens not even being able to move around and whatnot. When asked about the difference of a normal and a cage-free chicken, Kate Good of One Green Planet said, "The typical factory farmer has around 20,000 chickens to look after. Usually, these birds are confined to warehouses, where they may technically have access to a door that leads to a designated outdoor area. But because of the mass crowding of birds, it is highly likely that many will never see the daylight during their extremely short lifetimes. And, I think the fact that big companies can do this and get away with this when this is what consumers think they're getting, I think that just sounds like a big scam, and there should absolutely be a solution to this problem. So my third topic I'm going to be talking about is the GAP certification. So the GAP certification is kind of a solution for the problem that was brought up, but it's only as much as they could do. But the GAP certification, which stands for Good Agricultural Practices, is a voluntary audit that verifies the label on the package and goes to the farm and audits it to make sure what the consumer is buying is what they're really paying for. GAP ensures that the right foods are safe from bacteria, that they're actually grass-fed if they're fed, organic, and whatnot. So big chicken companies don't really do GAP because they make all their money from mass producing the cheaper chicken. And while the smaller farmers are the ones that are stepping up to get GAP certified so they can push out their organic product, which is still going to be naturally higher priced compared to the cheaper looking version of this right here. So after all of that, I think a good solution for this problem would be something along the lines of getting stamps, but instead of a GAP certification, it would be more of a, if you don't get certified, there would be a label on your package that says you did not do the audit, you're not verified what it says organic, but it may not be actually organic. And this problem has brought up many lawsuits and arguments through the past decade, and I really think it's time for transparency, and it's time to put the proper regulations needed for the stop of the mislabeling chicken, and so that consumers can know what they're really getting into. Thank you.